Hi guys, and welcome back. Long time no see. Well, you've seen me, just maybe not in the garage. I have been out of town and under the weather, so I'm excited to finally be back here and have a little fun in the old garage. So right before I left, I pretty much went full Tomb Raider on a Joann's that was going out of business. And one of the things that I found was, you know, they used to have, it was like a kind of like metal smithing section. You know, they sold like a couple little hammers and stamps and stuff like that. Well, they had a couple of patinas. And so I said, what if I added this to my hoard and then I shared all those different things with you guys and we kind of just experimented today. So I am gonna do different kind of patina techniques today. And I say that because 1 and 2 are gonna be kind of the same. But the thing I got at Joann's literally has like no real words on it, but I think it's like liver of sulfur. So we're gonna still try that out just to see what happens. So if you guys don't actually know what a patina is, it's really just metal reacting to its environment. And we don't feel like waiting on that to happen. So we are gonna take all this stuff on the table and we are going to basically create a little environment to make the metal maybe look aged or give it a kind of an interesting color or even bring out texture. Some of the pieces that we have cast, I feel like we've done them and the goal has been to just get them like as shiny and as neat looking as possible. But sometimes things just look a little bit more interesting or fun when that texture is brought out, or maybe you want something that looks kind of spooky or vintage or Victorian or something. And one of the best ways to do that is with a patina. So first what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the table and I'm gonna show you kind of the things that I have that we're gonna do in here because some of the stuff stinks. And then after that, I am gonna actually take you guys inside and we are going to clean up the pieces first in the sink. And then we're gonna do the first method because that is gonna need a little time to sit. And then we're gonna walk through everything else. Hopefully that made sense. If I haven't said this before, I am not an expert. I'm just a girl who took a couple college classes and is trying to get back into it for fun. I am not a professional metalsmith. I am just a girl in her garage who hopes her neighbors never ask what that smell is. Let's take it to the table. First, let's talk a little bit about cleanup. Now, one thing you could do is you could, let's say you had a dirty piece of copper. I could throw this in the pickle and then I could take this to the sink and then I could use just maybe like this little Scotch-Brite pad and I could rub it and make sure that this is very clean. And really you just want to get all of the other oxidation off first. And then I have some no-name patina cleaner, and that is actually, I believe, the brand of this. I have not tried this before, and that whole pickle Scotch-Brite thing is what I would usually do first, but I got this because I saw it recommended somewhere online and it was maybe like $5 and I kind of just wanted to try it, see if I noticed any difference or if it saved me any time or it maybe did a better job. I have an old toothbrush here. That's what we're gonna probably use. That's the cleaning portion of this. One of the methods I'm gonna use is liver of sulfur. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this or not, but if you are, this is the old school original kind. If you can hear it, it's in like little chunks. I am gonna wait to the last possible minute to open this because it really stinks. There's instructions here. There was like a piece of tape over this to keep this from opening up during shipping, and they decided that right over the directions was the best place for that. So what I remember from using this is that you want a grain of rice size nugget to like a cup of warm water. You don't want it to be boiling or anything, but that you need the water to be warm to help that dissolve. So we're gonna try that today. Now this is one of the things that I found at Joann's. It says patina solution. And this was, I think, 40 to 50% off of $10. So I was like, you know what? I'm curious and I will try it. I haven't obviously opened this yet, but I looked everywhere on this packaging and I don't see anywhere where this says what this actually is. It doesn't tell me that this is liver of sulfur, and it really does not give a lot of words. I think that this is basically version of this, but just to be sure, I'm gonna try it. I think this is just very old stock because when I went to the Bead Buddy website, it looks like they still make patina solution, but it looks like they maybe have more clear language on the bottle. So I think it might actually say liver of sulfur on the new packages. So kind of 1 and 2, like I said before, I think this is pretty much the same thing. I found this antique stamp enamel enamel marker. I've never used one of these before, but I thought it might be interesting if maybe I stamped in an initial or something like that. I just thought this would be fun to try. I think this was only a couple bucks. So the other thing I'm going to try to do is, it's called fire painting. So I have just a little butane torch right here. The first one I'm going to show you guys is actually in the kitchen. It's something most people already have. So I actually have my bag of scrap copper here. Ooh. I think I need a new bag, right? I was thinking of stamping them out into little blanks or whatever, but I actually have a couple pieces that I think are maybe left over from, they've got a lot of texture from it, so I don't know if I was doing fold forming or what I was doing, but they've got a lot of texture, and I think it might be a little easier to see some of the variances in the color if I just leave them alone. So I'm going to clean a piece for each different method we're going to do, and then I'm going to clean one extra one just so we can have it next to the ones that we do for like comparison sake. Let's give it a shot. With that being said, I'm going to gather these pieces up. They're pretty decent sized pieces, just kind of all varying shapes and sizes, really cool texture on them. Then I'm going to take these two. They don't have a ton of patina on them from when we did the cuttlefish cast, but they do have a lot of texture. There we go. But they do have a lot of texture that I think would be kind of cool with a patina. And then the little bow, if you guys remember the little bow. So these are silver, so that'll give a little variation. And I think I'm going to do one with the kitchen method, and then another one maybe with just liver of sulfur, just so you can kind of tell the difference. So I'm going to clean these up so we can get to 0. We're going to go ahead and do the first method in the kitchen. Let's get going. So we are going to be using this to clean these pieces. So as you can see, there's been dirtier things, but they could use a little help. Rub gently with a sponge, cloth, or stiff brush. Make a paste for heavy oxidation by adding water. Spread evenly and wait while it works on the oxides. Rub gently. Rinse well in patina immediately. I do have on goggles and a mask. I'm really not applying very much pressure. I think I brush my actual teeth harder than this. Wow, this actually does save a little trouble. I would say this is pretty good. I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. I'm gonna grab another piece. Do we see any difference here? I feel like the silver, I mean, sure, that's a little cleaner. I think that's okay. I think the real MVP over here is with the copper. This came out pretty great. All right, I'm gonna just dry my gloves off and keep them on. I'm gonna keep them on for probably most of this. Sometimes with a patina, if I recall correctly, there's like oils and stuff on your fingers, especially my hands. I always have lotion on them. If you get oils on your pieces after you've cleaned them, sometimes you might see those in the patina. So I am just gonna I'm gonna dry these off with a clean paper towel, and I'm just gonna keep my hands gloved up. We have all these clean pieces of copper, 2 clean pieces of silver, where we've got a lot of texture. that is really just kind of lost on just being kind of all one pinkish copper color. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. One of the methods we're gonna do is we are gonna use an egg, specifically the egg yolk. This is a hard-boiled egg to do a patina. So like I said, the egg yolk is doing most of the work here. So if you want, you could just mash up the yolk and have a tasty low-carb snack, or you can do what I'm gonna do and just mash it all up. Couple quick notes. A lot of people seem to be of the opinion when you do this that you should overcook the egg a little bit, which definitely easy for me to do. I've never cooked the egg the right time. They're always a little overdone with me. We're gonna mash this up and kind of push it off to the side. You don't want your piece to sit directly in the egg smush, otherwise it'll be kind of splotchy and uneven. You're gonna sit it off to the side. We're gonna put a lid on it, and the environment that we're creating for the piece is what's gonna force that oxidation. So let's go ahead and get this going. Shells off our egg. We're just gonna take a regular fork and we are just gonna mash this egg up. So this is our before, and we are just going to put that right there, and we're gonna go ahead and put the lid on us. All right, let's see what it looks like after an hour. Let's take our other pieces. We're gonna head back into the garage, and then we are gonna have fun with our other patinas. I think we're gonna go ahead and then do this first. I'm in a place that's pretty hot, so I can't really do this outside. So I'm just gonna have to suffer in the garage. I am gonna wear goggles and a mask. I need a little one. Ah, there we go. Really, you need, see how these little tiny ones in there? That's what I'm looking for. About that big. If you guys can tell, that's really tiny. And I am going to post-haste close this because it stinks. This little guy, I think we'll put this off to the side as our kind of constant, but this one has a lot of texture to it, so I think that'll be the easiest to kind of see. Let's go ahead and just put that in there. And usually this works pretty quickly. You know what? Let's throw a little bow in there too. I'm gonna take my baking soda, have a little brass brush. So the silver bow was only in the liver of sulfur solution for about 5 minutes. I'm using baking soda and warm water to neutralize the patina solution so it stops at the color I'd like. And I'm doing it with a brass brush because I want to take a little bit off the top and leave the patina just in the grooves. I feel like it stands out a little bit more now after having done the patina. So this big chunk, this has been in here for a minute. Look how dark that got. And I'm not taking like all of it off. This is not like when we use that cleaner. I want to kind of subtract some of the top so that I can see the grooves in there a little bit better. So that actually looks pretty cool. So let's compare that to our how we started. And even though I think copper, naturally clean copper is a pretty color, this, we can't deny this has a little bit more like visual interest, right? So that's kind of cool. Just something to, obviously this isn't something I'm gonna just throw on my neck and start wearing, but you know, it gets the creative juices flowing a little bit, right? Very cool. I like how that came out. I got a fresh bowl of water. This is what I think it is. And we're gonna go ahead and pop this open. All right, so it's pretty liquidy, looks yellowy. It looks pretty similar to what we already had in the bowl. This could very well be just liquid liver of sulfur. So instructions, it says mix 1 tablespoon patina solution with 1 cup of tap water. I went and got my measuring cup and measured that out. So that's a cup of water. And we need a tablespoon of patina solution. This doesn't smell as bad as the liver of sulfur. It's got a little viscosity to it. I mean, this looks like liver of sulfur, and it could just be that I can't tell it stinks because it already stank in here. I will say, if you can tell, it's a little cloudier, right? Who knows? Maybe this technically is not liver of sulfur. I couldn't tell you guys, and they couldn't tell me either, apparently. Stir until it is dissolved. Keep submerged until desired finish is achieved. The longer it remains in the solution, the darker it will become. Remove and wipe dry with a polishing cloth to remove excess patina. Wow, it worked pretty fast. I feel like we are at a similar time frame as our other stuff, and I still am not any better at tong use. Let's compare it to our original color. If you wanted, you could also let your pieces soak in the baking soda water for a few minutes, then rinse and follow up with a light sand. So here's our piece from the Bead Buddy Patina solution next to the Liver of Sulfur one with a hole in it for comparison. So between the two, I think the old school Liver of Sulfur chunks, I think this one came out a little bit nicer. And I'll sit this next to the original piece. So the enamel marker is not a patina because it's not actually changing the metal, just to clarify, but I found this and was curious how it would turn out. I decided to include this today because these come in different colors and you can kind of fake the look of a patina, and I've never used this and thought we would just try it out together. Not my best stamping job, but I wanted to see if I could get a smaller detail to show up. 1 to 3 minutes, and then we come back and see what's going on. First impressions, this just seems like a paint pen that works on metal. I feel like this is not a product I would buy again. You know what? I'm gonna try it on a different area. I don't know if this was particularly successful. And I feel like that's not standing out very much. I feel like you can't see the letters at all. You know what? Maybe I will try on a part like this where there's really deep areas. All right, let's give that another couple minutes. Just want to see if that comes out any better, something a little deeper. I think this looks a little bit better, so I think I just didn't do a great job maybe with the stamping. That was kind of not my best stamp job. So you can kind of get little interests. You could do something pretty cool with that, I think. Got the old fire brick out here and my little butane torch. And we're gonna do what's actually called fire painting. But basically I am going to turn this down pretty low. You can adjust this here. And I am going to turn on my little torch and I'm just gonna slowly warm up the metal. I'm not trying to anneal it or anything like that. I'm really just going to let the heat kind of flutter across the top. I actually have not done this in a very long time. When I was in school, it was actually one of my favorite things to do. So you can get a couple different colors out of here, but as you can see, that is fire painting. And I usually just kind of let this cool off on its own. But look at the pretty colors we got. Some hot pink, we have a lighter orange. I mean, this really looks kind of like a sunset. You can see you do have a little hint of blue here. This is just a little example, but there are a lot of actual talented artists out there doing beautiful flame painting work, making all kinds of things. I'd really encourage you to check that out if this looks like fun. And you're welcome for that 1 a.m. rabbit hole you're about to enter. One of the best things about using a glass Pyrex for something like this, if I had better lighting, you could see what it's doing. But we're gonna go ahead and open this because it's been about an hour. Oh my gosh, this came out so cool. Let's do the less cool one first. We'll do the silver one. So you can see we did get kind of a cool patina out of the silver. We got more of like a series of grays. So, but that actually came out pretty cool. The back, I didn't get too much color on that, but I think if I did a light sand on the top here, I think then you would really be able to see a lot of that tree texture. So very cool. Now this is the champion of the night. Came out so cool. Didn't that come out cool? Almost like that fire painting that we did with the torch. Now the back, we didn't get too much patina on here. We got a lot of blues here. We got some oranges, some hot pinks. I mean, I would say this really is like the winner of the night. I'll let you guys vote down below which one was your favorite one, but I think this came out super cool. So just to recap, this was our original color, and these are the pieces that we did with the traditional Liver of Sulfur chunks, the solid form. This was the patina. I'll just kind of slide this through that we got the Bead Buddy Patina solution, which I still suspect is just liquid Liver of Sulfur. This was kind of what we got with the stamp enameling marker. it's okay. This was, look how pretty that got. It'll kind of keep going a little bit if you just leave it alone. And this is what we got when we did the fire painting. And then these are the patinas that we got with our egg. This was a fun kind of experiment. The cogs and the creative brain are going. So there's a couple different things you can do to kind of just help preserve the patina. The two that I'm more familiar with are using an acrylic sealer, something like this. And the problem with this though is if you spray it on, it looks fine at first, but over time it could flake a little bit, which is not the best. Now I've used this I did like initial stamping on little circles and then ended up using those as like tags or branding on clothing, and spraying these with an acrylic sealer actually worked out pretty nice because it's not something that touches your skin every day. It was like on the outside of like a bag or something like that. So it didn't really create any issues, but I think if you have a necklace and you spray this on and it's up against your skin, I think it'll be okay for a while, but it might eventually kind of start flaking. So the other thing that you can use, I haven't used this too much, but a lot of people really recommend this, and this is Renaissance wax. It is fancy. It's made in England. And this actually, by appointment to Her Majesty the Queen, right on the top here. And I thought this was kind of cool if you are not familiar with this at all. It says this is refined waxes blended to a formula used by the British Museum and restoration specialists internationally to revive and protect valuable furniture, leather, paintings, metals, marble, ivory, and many other surfaces, both housed and exposed to weather, freshens colors, imparts a soft sheen. But I thought that was kind of cool. And then it's also interesting because you can use that on other things that aren't metal. So I am going to rub this on. Should we do this one, the fire painted one? And this was, I think, maybe about 18 bucks for this little guy, but I think some people buy this and they have the same thing their whole life. It smells a little bit like carnauba wax. A little bit. Just gonna take a clean paper towel, and I've got a little bit of wax on here, and I'm just gonna rub that on. I don't know, it dulled a little bit of the color. Let's see how it does with the egg. Yeah, see, I put a little bit on that and I lost a little bit of that. So maybe the ones like these might be a little bit better to use the spray lacquer on than the wax. So interesting. We'll use the sealant next time. So this might be better for, this is just the regular liver of sulfur. Let's see if that looks a little bit better. I'm rubbing this on, I'm not seeing any difference in the patina, whereas I feel like it kind of messed up some of our, like the colors we got. Yeah, so I feel like this did not really affect that liver of sulfur piece very much. If you can see right in the middle, we lost a little bit of the color. On this one, we lost a little bit of the pink. Took a little bit of that pink out, and this was the egg one, and then this was the fire painted one. It's important to do stuff like that and test it, because if you want to, you know, make stuff and sell it to people, or you have an idea, you don't want to be really disappointed if it doesn't work out because you're not able to preserve what you made and show people. Anyway, that's going to do it for me today. Hopefully I didn't have to edit a bunch of coughing out of this video. But I had so much fun doing this today, and let me know down below, what is your preferred method of patinas if you are a person who is familiar with patinas? What was your favorite patina finish that we got today? I have a lot of stuff that I have planned that we're going to film in here now that I am back home. I am still going to update the Japan playlist a little bit because we're at Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea, and I'm going to post that on there. So, but not to worry, I'm going to keep this playlist updated too. Anyway, this was a blast. I had so much fun being back in the garage and trying out new stuff. I'm going to see you guys next week. So go forth, be kind, be creative.